perseverance and waiting his time. Cliff Harris is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this summer. And he had to wait too long to even know that he was going to go into it in the first place. And then, of course, last year, everything changed with COVID. Cliff Harris, the Cowboys' great Pro Football Hall of Fame safety, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. How patient a man are you?
Hey, David. Well, it was worth the wait, I think. I don't have a lot of patience, but you don't have a choice. I can't tell you how excited I am to have made it and going in with Drew and Jimmy and these guys. And so it's going to be a great event. And hectic because it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of activity going on up there, but it's going to be great.
Cliff, I've always wondered this, especially for guys who have to wait as long as you and Drew did. Like when the kind of emotion washes over you and you're kind of done, do you think like, oh wait, I need to let them know I'm a 44 long jacket? Like, do you tell them right away?
Yeah. No, actually, we measured at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and took my ring size and jacket size, and so they've had it for a while. So I may have grown or shrunk, one or the other. So I don't know all it.
What has it been like trying to get organized and figure out like who's going, like family members? Right. I'm sure excited, friends. I mean, what's that whole process been like for you?
Well, it's been complex. I'll tell you. I organize. I'm a good organizer guy, but I'm organized into 5 different groups: my Arkansas people, my Washita people, my Dallas people, my media people, my all the things that are good. And then I've had 2 ladies that've been really, really good helping me, and my agent has been helping me a lot. And it is still complicated, because I think the Hall of Fame was overburdened, and with all these players coming in. First of all, there's 20 of us. Or 20 total players coming in, or about that number, and on in one weekend, which they're normally going to do 7, or 9, and so it's been it's going to be a fun time and a great time, and the Dallas Cowboy game layer against the Steelers layered on top of it. So I've got a lot of activity going on, which is a good thing to have happen to you.
Is Charlie Waters still going to be the one who introduces you?
Yes, he is. I'm going to be able to hear and watch his and approve his speech first, though. I'm going to make sure that I get an editing right for them. Don't tell him what you can come out of there with. He knows too much.
Yeah, the heck with the football. He knows everything behind the scenes.
But Cliff, here's what you need to worry about is, listen, you've edited, but from editing to microphone, I mean, you might have to, break out some of the old skills and tackle them again. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that this is going to work, and at least I've been told, has been that they're going to videotape his part of it. And I think that's going to help a lot in the timing of everything, and it's going to, get guys up and on, and they're going to videotape it. So I told him that was agreeable to that as long as I had editing rights on it. So,
had you already written your speech?
Yes, I have. I could give it to you right now if you need to hear it.
That'd be a nice exclusive, but
I've had 2 years to practice it.
So you had it ready. Then there's the delays, of course, with what happened a year ago with COVID. Have you looked at it lately? I mean, is it one of those things that when you look at it, you might tweak it a little bit, or are you just going to leave it the way it is?
Well, I've actually that's a good question, and an interesting question. I've had some of my friends look at it, and just last night, for the first time, I read it to my wife and a friend we had over last night, and and they gave me a standing round of ovation. So I think it was well worth it.
Is it?
They stood up and cheered.
That's great.
Is it kind of strangely kismet that you and Drew Pearson are both going in at the same time? And not only were you Cowboys who had to wait a long time, but you were kind of Cowboys who were those super Gilbrandt finds. You at Ouachita, him at Tulsa, and not on a lot of people's radars.
Exactly. And matter of fact, Gil had just called me right before you called and asked me a question about the scout that came to Ouachita back when I was playing for the Ouachita Baptist Tigers in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. The scout's name was Earl Scuddy, and he was from Lubbock, Texas, and he was a writer. And he came to talk to me, and it's a long story, but it was and to have Drew come in as a free agent as well. And it's just a really interesting time. And then to go in with Jimmy, it's just going to be thrilling. And Drew and I have a commonality, of course, as being free agents and having a chip on our shoulder, kind of, because we were free agents. And when I came in as a free agent, there were 120 rookies that were out for training camp for the Dallas Cowboys. And the reason that there was because it was a strike year for the NFLPA, so the veterans didn't show up. So it was a blessing to me in disguise because I got to play in 6 rookie games out there on the coast against the Rams, the Raiders, and the 49ers. And it gave the Cowboys coaching staff a better look at me as a free agent. So it was really a great. Good. I had good timing, not by my choice though, just by God's grace.
Cliff, you obviously, overachieved given where you started and beginning as a free agent, like you mentioned, and out of a small school like Ouachita Baptist, but you also had to have a lot of belief in yourself, and you proved a lot. But was there any part of you, being an undrafted rookie, that thought, I'm going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer one day?
I think that was I've said this before, my friends growing up in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then I moved to Desert Hot Springs, Arkansas is a resort. It's got 40,000 people in it. It's not very many, but it's a big city compared to where I moved my senior year to Desert, Arkansas. And I can tell you, the guys in Hot Springs, when I was a junior in high school and I was a second string junior varsity quarterback, if the coaches, the players, the students, anybody else, they said, "Do you think this guy's going to make it to this senior year?" They would have voted no. I grew my senior year, and I to 6 feet. I moved, and I was a quarterback, and quarterbacked an undefeated team, and boom, there it goes. But there were not my expectations throughout my college career. I played well and had the scouts come and visit me. So, there was an inkling and even an inkling of hope and a light kind of at the end of the tunnel, but I didn't know how difficult a path I had in front of me. Not many players know how difficult it is just to get a tryout, much less hang in there and play, and then perform, and then go to the Hall of Fame, I guess, to keep it the shortcut.
Well, it's been a nice run lately because it was a long gap with a lot of the players of the Cowboys decades, the era of Tom Landry, Gil Brandt, now you, Andrew Pearson. There's been a couple of others that have finally gotten in as well. Was that something that did you ever become bitter because of that?
No, I really didn't. I kind of take things as they come, and I know I expected and it looked like and perceived that there was a bias, and fewer Dallas Cowboys were going into the Hall of Fame, and you had to really fight hard to become an All-Pro, and but and when Rayfield went in, he and I were up as finalists, and he made it. And he rightfully should have, Rayfield Wright, and I don't know how many years ago that was, probably 10 or something. And I've been up a couple of times in those finals, and so but it's a dream thing that you go for. I mean, it's one thing to make the Pro Bowl. It's another thing to make the Pro. Well, it's just that distant light that you've got that's up in the sky that you think is the chance to become to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and everything worked out. Everything worked out to make that happen.
Cliff, one of the unique stats that you have in your career, you had 16 fumble recoveries, through the 10-year career. What is the knack for being in the right place at the right time, and also the fearlessness you have to have? Because I'm sure some bad stuff happened to you on the bottom of those piles.
Yeah, well, I just think that a couple of things. One is that I anticipate things well, and that's why one of the things that is the gifts that I have, and I know what to look for and expect, and see things happen sooner. And other things, I punch the ball out many times, and other thing maybe that I don't know, but sometimes those receivers, when they saw me coming to hit them, maybe they just let the ball go.
Yeah, well, and of course, you were a missile. There's no question about it. You played the game. You played the game fearless. What do you think about all the new rules that receivers and contact and above the waist and defenseless and all that? How would that have affected you?
Oh my gosh, would have affected me enormously, because the thing that I think that was so critical for me was to instinctively, because I knew instinctively where to hit the guy that I was tackling in the weakest spot that didn't hurt me, because, you tackle a guy, I can't say that, well, Earl Campbell, you couldn't hit him anywhere without hurting, other than that. But that there's so instinctively, where exactly to put that force. You know exactly where to put your shoulder pad and your helmet, and you know how to put your momentum and move it all. I had a major in math and minor in physics, and I knew. It must be a mechanical mindset. But today, when you've got to be careful where you don't hit head-to-head contact, and you've got to really think about where you're going to hit the guy and try to avoid hitting him. Boy, there's no advantage, and that's where I would think I could have gotten really hurt, because I couldn't have relied on my instincts to keep me healthy and safe, and know instinctively how to tackle the guy and not hurt yourself, hurt him.
Cliff, when Tom Landry was fired and Jimmy took over, obviously that was a very crazy, no one ever saw that coming. And the Cowboys had struggled in the 2 or 3 years prior to that. What was your initial impression of Jimmy, even though he eventually had the great run and then left early? How often did you have a chance to visit with him, and when was the first time you did? Do you remember?
I was more active with the Cowboys back then, and I had a real cocky, real good coach that was so hard on us, Buddy Bob Benson, and Jimmy, and he's one of my favorite people in the world, and he's passed away today, and Jimmy reminded me of him, and I like it because I like winners, I like guys that, they can back up what they talk about, and I've liked Jimmy the whole time that I've been around him, and I think he's a great coach, and I think he relates, and I think that guys that are winners relate to guys like Jimmy,
Well, you waited too long, or you had to wait way too long, and so did Drew and even others as well. We're happy for you. I know it's still a while until you get to the induction, but we're looking at some of the class. We're bringing some of those guys on. It was great to have you on. We can't wait to hear your speech, and we'll give you a standing ovation as well, like your wife and family did. And good luck and enjoy it between now and then.
And by the way, some of my favorite memories as a kid growing up were my mom's side of the family would have reunions in Hot Springs Village, and I just absolutely love that place. That's awesome.
That is so cool that you can relate to and understand how special it is. It's, you know, I'm headed up there tonight because we've got a place on Lake Washita, and it overlooks Lake Washita, and it's on the hills, and it's great. So that's a really fun place to go.
Yeah, there are some of the most beautiful golf courses inside the village as well.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Golly, I love that place. Yeah.
I've played many of them. I used to have I still have a charity golf tournament for the FCA up there in
cool.
Hot Springs, Arkansas. The Cliff Harris. That's the Cliff Harris charity FCA charity golf tournament. People can come to. We play in the Hot Springs Village, and it was started by Coach Tom Landry. And when he passed away, because I grew up in Hot Springs, they put my name on the tournament, and we have 700 people at the banquet. So it's a great course and a great charity, and and I'm glad that I can be that I'm a part of it, and I'm glad. And it started with Tom Landry asking me to come up there and play.
That's awesome.
I did for a couple of years, and we lost him that next year, and they changed it over. So it's always great to talk with you guys, David. I enjoy your. You make it easy for me.
Hey, man, we're happy for you. And finally, it's about to be here. Enjoy the next few weeks leading up to it, Cliff. Congratulations. Love what you did, how you play. No question about it.
Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate it.
Cliff Harris, Pro Football Hall of Fame safety, with us on SicEm365 Radio. You could hear the joy in his voice, how excited he is. It's right here on the horizon. Imagine you wait so long, then it's your time, and then you have to wait again. And good for him that he gets a chance to finally give that